Okay. Yeah, it says that I'm live. I'm just checking my pulse to make sure, and it does not lie. And here we are. This is the REI Rocks review. I'm excited like crazy because Amy Sylvis is here. How you doing, Amy?
I'm amazing. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Jason, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, and I'm glad you're alive today, Dan.
Thanks. Yeah, that's always a booster. But let's talk about what we're up to. This is the REI Rocks review. We always review our REI Rocks Summit content at 1.5 times speed. It's a great way to learn and grow, develop yourself, develop professionally, personally, and otherwise. And I think studying that pre-recorded content is a really important way to gain back more of your day. There's more and more information that we have to consume, and that was always the case as an entrepreneur. But we're going to be talking about LinkedIn today. So I don't know, Amy, I'll let you take your slurp of your coffee there, but as far as LinkedIn, like what's the main play here? Like if there's somebody out in the audience, they're saying, hey, I'm in commercial real estate, but what's all this LinkedIn stuff all about? Why would I want to spend time on that? No less what Jason likes to point out could very easily become a full-time job, just working on LinkedIn. But Amy, why don't you warm us up that way?
Absolutely. Well, LinkedIn is definitely my favorite social media platform for a whole host of reasons. I met you all wonderful people there, but yeah, there is an incredible commercial real estate community here. So whether you're just looking to network with other GPs, whether you're looking to, hey, good morning, Doug, or if you're looking to raise capital, LinkedIn can be an incredible way to network, build relationships, and the quality of people. The statistics don't lie in terms of their income and what people are looking to do here on the platform. Mm-hmm. So yes, I love it here and always love to encourage other people to join. Hey, Paul.
All right, awesome. Yeah, Paul Vincent, Esquire of Vincent. They're an attorney firm in Cleveland, Ohio. It's great to see you, Paul, in here. And then we got Umesh saying hi to everybody as well. He's very excited to see Amy. Nobody's excited to see somebody with a red beard. It just doesn't happen. So it's like the phony red hair. That's a different thing. But what can you do? All right, so we're going to be going through your presentation, Amy, and that is featured on the VIP site of the Academy Presents. You can see it right here. It's got our different summits on there. Jason, I know that you helped to do an audit on the content that's on here. Do you want to say a thing or two about what's on the VIP site?
So there's a whole lot of content on the VIP site. If you ever get to a summit, when the summit is live, you can get free access. But in order to view all of the content, you pretty much need a subscription. And we are going up in price next month, so you might want to hop on now. It's like $17 a month, but since we have so much content, it's starting to cost us a whole lot more to host it. So we have right now 350 some odd hours of content, so definitely
it's a lot.
Worth it. Yeah,
exactly. And there's the code so you can access that, anybody out there in the audience. And once again, we do watch this at 1.5 times speed. Here's Angel Williams. She hosts and started and is the founder of all these REI Rocks summits. How you doing today, Angel?
I'm doing better now that I'm finally connected. My internet was not working.
Oh no.
Yeah, it did it, and that's the thing. It's you got to feed the internet, and I think the best way to feed it is through subscriptions. You got to subscribe on YouTube and all that kind of stuff. I love this sandwich. It looks like I don't know if that's pastrami or what kind of cold cuts they got on there. That's great. But of course, we also should mention real quick before we go to Amy's presentation that this space could be yours if you are looking for more eyeballs for syndicators, people in commercial real estate, all that kind of stuff. It is available. And the way that we keep our lights on is through sponsors like Sponsor Cloud. So let's take 1 minute and I'll share about that. Here we go.
Hey guys, it's Angel, and we are super excited to announce our newest gold sponsors, Sponsor Cloud. If you're wondering what Sponsor Cloud is the one-stop shop for sponsors to automate, to delegate, to execute every aspect of their syndication projects, from affordable PPM generation to investor relationship management to fund administration and compliance, exclusive capital raising networking events. Plus, for the REI Rocks community, they're going to offer free migration and customer success services when switching from another provider. That's like a $2,000 value. So contact Sponsor Cloud, contact them today and see how much time and money you can save. You can visit them at sponsorcloud.io/contact and make sure you let them know that you're part of the REI Rocks community, because these sponsors are the reason why we are able to continue offering affordable and low cost, no cost education, summits, information, knowledge, experiences, all of the things that we're able to find and bring to y'all. It happens because we have sponsors like Sponsor Cloud. So check them out, see how they can help you out. And Sponsor Cloud, thank you.
All right, awesome. And I know that that's the reason why everybody's here is to watch this content here. So let's get started. Once again, do not adjust your television set. We are actually watching at 1.5 times speed. Let's do it.
Was that allegedly Jason doesn't forget?
Yeah, allegedly. That's right. And here's
I do have my face painted. Jason, you're so funny.
Yeah, I can't add her as a spotlight because I'm just a co-host.
Okay, hold on. I'll take care of it.
But I could remove. Oh, there we go. Add spotlight. Now I can. There she is.
Hello.
So,
I referred to you as somebody earlier. Was that me, Jason? Did I refer to you as somebody?
No, it was Lauren and Dan calling me somebody.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
We have a recording of it, I believe.
Allegedly.
Jason doesn't forget. Let me mute my phone so it doesn't go off. Mute. There we go.
I guess we'll skip ahead another few seconds here. Boink. It's thinking about
This
it.
is like that awkward silence whenever the countdown is counting from the breakout rooms. You don't want to start a conversation before you get kicked out.
I could talk, but I'll wind up putting it in my post, and then it'll be like part of a conversation in the middle of the post.
I want to give a shout out to Kathy for giving me the courage to wear headphones, because I was always the only one. And it's such a great way when you have a bad hair day to help your hair look halfway decent. So
that is so true, because in the morning my son gave me the heads up that I was getting the fuzzies. I was like, all good.
Jason's got him too. Yeah. Makes you feel like a DJ.
Of course, I have the whole summit on the big TV, but
Nice.
just use it for the mic.
Kathy, did we already talk about I almost went to Berkeley and was your classmate? Did we already talk about this? And I
No,
forgot.
what?
I was this
that
close
was
to going to
so
Berkeley. I know.
exciting. Oh
You're
my God.
2003, right? Is that when you graduated?
When I graduated, yes.
Yeah.
99,
All
because I think we're the same age. 99,
Yes.
2003.
my gosh, that would have been so cool.
I think in your pre-recording you mentioned 5'2", and I was like, oh, I'm 1 inch shorter than you guys.
Are you
Oh, man.
5'1"?
Did you want to
Oh,
skip
gosh.
to the
It's the
content?
Look
best.
at the
It's the
bar.
best height.
Yeah, we
You must have had
We
little
should
should give a
Yeah,
shout out to
did.
Kathy
Yes,
though.
I regret it fully.
She's awesome.
Man, I gotta wear like orthotic shoes or something to conferences.
You need the plantar fasciitis socks. They help immensely. And then Kenneth's wife was saying you can buy these plantar fasciitis.
All right, this PowerPoint's supposed to be coming on now. Let's see here, judging by this.
Well, Amy, if you want to get started,
Yeah.
it's your show.
Share my screen. All right. Let's see what we got here.
And I'll back
Audience
with all
window. I'm trying to do this Canva thing all fancy, so I just want to make sure. Is it showing? Are you just seeing my
Absolutely.
just the presentation? Okay, sweet. All right. Hey everyone, I'm Amy Sylvis. Thank you so much for having me, Angel, Dan, Jason. This is so cool. Hey Megan, hey Lemke, that's so cool. I haven't talked to you in a while. All right. Welcome to LinkedIn Capital Raising Secrets. I'm thrilled to have you all here. I love interaction, so I don't know if it's okay with the bosses, but if you've got a question, put it in the chat. Come off mute. I'm not overly formal. I got a lot of information I'm overjoyed to share with you all, but I really want to make sure this isn't me just, monologuing at you all and, you've got kind of lingering questions that we may or may not get to at the end. So I'll tailor kind of the speed of how I go through this based on questions. So I'm going to keep this chat thing open. And here we go. All right. So LinkedIn. Let's talk a little bit first about who in the world am I? I'm Amy Sylvis. I'm the founder and principal of Sylvis Capital. And this is going to be the hardest part for me of the presentation because I don't like talking about myself. But I'll tell you a little bit for those who may not know me. I live in Los Angeles with husband Joel. It's a formal name, so we capitalize husband because that's his name. We love to travel internationally, spend time with family. And for anyone who follows me on LinkedIn a little bit, I love college football. I have about 478, I do have 748, apartment units. And that was said twice on the slide. That's all right. And 208,000 square feet of flex industrial. That's the triple net lease part of the portfolio, and around 96 million of asset under management. And I've raised millions upon millions on LinkedIn. And I want to share with you all how I do it, and give you a little bit more encouragement and secrets so you can do it as well. So why LinkedIn? I think we all understand what LinkedIn, we've been on LinkedIn, but I want to give you all a little bit of context of why. And we talked a little bit about this during Mickey's session. And I know Kathy talked a lot about this and why she's had so much success as well on LinkedIn. I like to consider it as fishing where the fish are. There are other social media platforms. Some people do great on Facebook. Some people do great on Instagram or even TikTok, which I know we talked about the previous session. But LinkedIn really has so many great statistics and things about it. Even Dan mentioned, it is more of a professional setting. People go on LinkedIn to network, to find jobs, to get information. So about half of LinkedIn users earn $75K a year. 37% of millionaires in the United States are.
And just for the record, on the actual summit, when I was commenting on it, I think my exact words were, like people on Facebook, they tend to say and a lot more, whereas on LinkedIn, you really shouldn't do that. So let's continue.
Are LinkedIn members. There are 875 million LinkedIn users, and that's worldwide. Obviously, the US only has 330 million people, but talk about a massive platform. And typically LinkedIn users have 2x the buying power of the average web user. So this is all about intentionally going where likely many of your target avatar, your target investors are. So, all right. Hey, Vlad, good to see you. All right. So we've all seen this, right? It's the know, like, and trust funnel. And it really is how I think about LinkedIn and how I love to talk to other people about the utility of the platform and how they can maximize their ability to raise. So Dan mentioned this earlier, but I think it's worth repeating. Of the know, like, and trust, and of course, wire money portal or funnel, if you will, the know part is where we must begin, and it is the most important part. So getting you visible, having people see what you're up to, what you're sharing is the first step. It is the most important step. But I would challenge you all to really think through, as we talk about this, where are you kind of in this step process, in this funnel? Because you may already be very well known. People may know who you are, but maybe they don't like you, maybe they don't trust you enough to wire funds. So we're going to go through some tips and tricks on how to make this useful for you so you can improve your capital raising ability. I've talked a lot. Don't forget, come off mute, say something in the chat. I'm happy to make this interactive. Hey, Dan. Thank you, friend. All right. So I am analytical. I'm very analytical, and I teach this in my class too. Angel's annoyed at how often I bother her and everyone else to gather data. But it is so important for us to understand, how do we measure some of these metrics? How are we measuring this funnel? So for no, I like to measure impressions and number of connections. So some people consider these to be vanity metrics, like, oh, I passed 10,000 connections. I think there's some credence to that. I think there really is. But also, it's hard to measure if you don't have some sort of data to understand how you're flowing through this know, like, and trust funnel or cascade, if you will. So I'm going to show you a little bit of how to find that data if you don't know, so that you can track it for yourself and measure your progress. Now, when we talk about like, how do we measure that? We're going to look at engagements and direct message conversations. So as you go through, as you become more known and people decide to look at what you're saying, or the algorithm shows people what you're doing, and more people decide to connect with you or follow you, then you're going to start getting engagement. So how do you get engagement and how do you measure that? We're going to talk about that as well. And then direct message conversations, another great thing to measure. A little bit more difficult to measure, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then trust. These are the phone calls that you're getting. So moving people off the platform, getting them to actually take the time to talk to you, spend their valuable time, getting to know what you do and ask questions is one way we'll measure trust. And then, of course, joining your investor list. I know we talked about customer relationship management software, CRMs. So that is a very nice way to measure trust there. And of course, wiring funds is our ultimate goal and how we're going to measure the success of that final data point. So we understand all this. Let's start back off with tips to get you known. So again, our goal, increasing impressions and connections. I want to show you all how first to measure this for yourself. Now, if you're going to measure this, I know Angel, this will resonate with you. You may need to turn on what's called creator mode. I'm not going to, I have a limited time here, so I'm not going to go through exactly how to do that, but you can take notes and you can go back and watch the replay. But this is just basically an example to show you that you can understand the number of people, impressions that have seen your content. I like to look at it over a 90-day period of time to really understand over a quarter by quarter basis or a rolling 90-day period of time, how many people are actually seeing what you're doing. And part of that is the algorithm. How is the algorithm that LinkedIn has, these programmers, I know Dan mentioned that earlier, that decide, hey, Dan's putting out content that people want to see. Dan's engaging on the platform. Dan's doing other great things that we love. So measure those impressions and that'll help you. I'm going to take a little bit of, my blood sugar's a little low. Give me 2 seconds. We're good.
All good. Take your time. You don't have to.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate it. So that's one analytic that's available to everybody. And then we can also take a look at followers. So the number of connections or followers that you have on the platform as well. I recommend looking at a 90-day period of time. So I know this is a lot, this is nerdy. This is something that's maybe isn't your instinct to track necessarily, but I think it does give us all, whether you're brand new to the platform or whether you're a veteran like Dan or Kathy, to measure and track so you understand your performance. So great. Okay, Amy, so I know how to measure impressions. I know how to measure the number of followers I have and how that's changing over time. How do we actually get more impressions? All about this algorithm. And for those who aren't familiar with what an algorithm is, it's really this I don't know, Dan, you can probably describe it better than I can, but it's essentially something that once you post, there's kind of a formula, if you will, that the website, that LinkedIn decides to calculate, how engaged are you? Are you commenting on other people's posts? Are people hovering over your post and taking the time to read it for an extended period of time? All these different things. So we want to understand what the algorithm wants. And if we understand what the algorithm wants, we can give it what it's looking for, and that will make sure that we get more impressions. So, Dan, thank you for doing that. Thank you for outlining that. That was a challenge, creating this presentation of how in depth should I go, because I know we've got limited periods of time. So the assist is super appreciated, Dan. All right. So how do you choose the algorithm? How do you get your posts seen by?
Before we continue about the algorithm, I wanted to bring Angel a bit into the conversation, because one of the things that is her forte is working on the relationship side of this business and getting those long-term relationships, so people really know you inside out, back and forth. It's not the same as just interacting in smaller parts. I just wanted to mention real quick that the best way to meet people is Marvelous Mondays. So, Angel, do you want to say a thing or two about Marvelous Mondays and how people can meet syndicators, people in real estate?
Yeah, absolutely, I can. And then after I finish that, I also wanted to talk a little bit about the algorithm and kind of, I guess, I call it my first viral post. I don't know if anybody else calls it that, but I would call it that. But first off, with Marvelous Mondays, there's about 25 to 40 of us. We're super laid back. We will answer your questions. Nobody is going to call you out. Beginner, seasoned, it doesn't matter. We are there and we are having a great time just getting to know one another. And we would love to have you join us. It's every Monday at noon Eastern. And I will make sure that the link gets out there. It is posted on LinkedIn and in the Facebook group every Monday prior to the event happening. Again, we would love to have you there. On Excellent. The algorithm and just making posts. Amy got me to get a little bit more personal in a post, and I looked at it actually just the other day, and it's still going out there. People are still looking at it, and it has over 7,200 impressions now. And that's viral to me. I don't know if that's viral to other people, but that was the most impressions I'd ever had on any post. And it was something about our son. I said, we're raising a special needs son, and it's tough. And it resonated with a lot of people, and it gave people a little bit of insight into what we're coming to the table with, some of the difficulties that we're facing, because everybody's got stuff going on, right? Everybody has something that sucks in their life, whether it's raising a special needs child or any other of the myriad of difficulties that you're facing. And I'm not saying that raising our son sucks. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying there's some hard stuff there that it's not fun. And we have to deal with that. And I think that everybody out there has something going on. And if we're more open about what we're coming to the table with, I think there can be a different level of grace and understanding. And really, people just enjoy the fact that you're being transparent.
Yep. And I don't think you should feel embarrassed about it at all. And going just a couple details, like having to fill holes in the wall all the time. That's not a struggle that most people have to deal with. It's just like, oh, another hole in the wall. They're, putty that up. But Amy, it looked like you were about to say something.
No, I love that Angel, highlighted that and was willing to take that risk, because I think, we do talk a lot about the fact that LinkedIn is such a professional platform and there's networking that can be done there. But, why people love Angel and Jason and Dan is, they really feel like they get to know you, not only through Marvelous Mondays and your great summits, but also through your posts. And it's not just, education, which is really helpful, or bragging about what you're doing in real estate, but helping people connect the dots of why could this also matter to them. So I love that post, Angel. It's a great example for everyone to understand, how you can attract investors by just being yourself.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And there's another part too, which is if you really watch the numbers super duper carefully and you're cognizant of what topics you're hitting and stuff like that, LinkedIn has no choice but to reveal the fact that there are human moderators. So there are people who work for LinkedIn say, this is the post that we need to give it the juice. And they absolutely have the ability to do that. Just like turn on the taps. Of course, they're not going to do that unless people are going to be super duper interested. But that's the skinny. But this is the REI Rocks review. We are here every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. We're reviewing these different summit presentations at 1.5 times speed, not because we're speed demons, not because we've had too much coffee or something like that. It's because you need to be able to absorb all this stuff just to find out what the important bits are. But let's continue. Here we go with Amy Sylvis.
And more people. Well, consistency is the key. I can't remember who mentioned it earlier, but it really is one of those things where you need to commit to yourself to post 5 to 7 days a week, which may sound wildly overwhelming. I hear you, I get it, but I promise if I can do it, you can. It's again, we're gonna think of this kind of like a hockey stick. And when you're starting off, you may not get a ton of bang for your buck at the very beginning. You may not get all those impressions right away that you're looking for, but as the algorithm sees that you are consistently posting and showing up on the platform, providing value, you're gonna get rewarded for that. So you gotta start somewhere, but making sure that you do that is probably the biggest tip that I have. Once you post, I know there's this phrase that I got from Dan called posting and ghosting. It's not what you want to do. You want to make sure that you hang around, and when people comment on your post, you reply and engage with them. The algorithm is there because it wants you to have conversation and provide value. So if Lod says, something on my post about, hey, this is interesting, or maybe he even challenges me and says, Amy, this is your take. I don't know if I necessarily agree. All that's great, because I'm going to reply to Vlad and say, tell me more. Okay, that's really interesting. That's a different perspective. Help me understand. The more you can create a conversation in the comments, and again, we don't want any of this to be fake, right? We want it to be genuine. People can smell very easily when, if you're just kind of checking the box or doing it, to please the algorithm. If you truly care and want to have a conversation, the algorithm will reward you. So maybe that takes some time. I hear maybe some people going, oh my gosh, Amy, I don't know if I necessarily have time to do this. I understand. I hear you, but the rewards are immense. So within the first 30 minutes of when you post, I would recommend, if at all possible, hang out on the platform or keep checking your app if you're busy doing other things, and respond to those comments as much as possible. So if you do that, and then the third step is really find other people's posts to comment on. Many of you have seen me talk about the book called The Go-Giver. It's really there it is. Oh, Angel, perfect. LinkedIn really follows the go-giver mentality of, if you want something, in this case, you want the algorithm to favor you, you want more impressions, you have to give. So if you're giving, if I see Kathy posts and every day, I try to engage there, or let's see, I see Angel saying something and she posts every day. If I proactively reach out, show her support, add something, not just say, hey, thumbs up, or oh, that's amazing, but something truly thoughtful, the algorithm will reward you for that as well. Typically, and especially if you post and then comment on 3 people's posts pretty close to right after. So you got a lot of work to do within those first few minutes after you post, but it's well worth it, because the algorithm actually goes through a 2-step process once you post. There's this initial, they almost create kind of a beta test for your post and show it to a select amount of people and see how many people that see your post engage with it, read it, and all of that. And if within the first hour, approximately, this changes sometimes, you get a lot of traction, then LinkedIn will say, we're going to start promoting this to the wider audience. And that's when you really get a lot going. So that's why we really emphasize making sure all of this engagement and commenting and conversation making happens within the first 30 minutes to 60 minutes. So let's see. Kenton has asked a great question. Is the size of the comment, couple words versus 2 lines, making a difference in LinkedIn ranking? How much is seen by followers? So I'll answer that, and I'll tell you another thing. One thing a lot of people don't realize is sometimes your comments are just as important as your posts in terms of people watching what you're doing, because everyone's watching what you're doing on LinkedIn, right? Not everyone, but a lot of people are. And sometimes people come to get to know you and understand what you're doing through your comments rather than your posts. So making something thoughtful, making something meaningful, will people say, oh gosh, Jason commented on Maureen's post today and he said something really insightful. I wonder what he does. I wonder what his deal is. And then they go over and they check out his profile to see what he's up to. You may gain followers that way. So I guess that's a roundabout way of answering. Dan, I saw you nodding. Is there something in the algorithm from your experience where the actual length of the comment has an impact on the algorithm?
I've heard people report it as far as I've heard some people say that it needs to be at least 8 words in your response. Okay. But as far as actual statistics goes, that's one of the things where I don't have the data, because mostly it's my split testing has been different types of posts, different strategies as a whole, the amount of body text, of course, faces. Man loves faces, but it's I can't do that all the time. People get.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sitting here watching y'all right now, and everybody in this call is on LinkedIn right now, responding to stuff, responding to people. And I think that's really important just to note that even as we're sitting here, we're talking about it and we're doing what we're saying. If you want to get the followers, you want to get seen, you want to become, as Matt Kontoff says, you want to become less of a mediocrity. You want to be seen.
Yeah, get out of obscurity, right?
You've got to get out there. And we're doing it right now. If you're watching us, you're seeing our eyes go down. It's because we're typing and we're interacting with people right now in the chat on the live stream. And those are the things that you have to be willing to do. You've got to be willing to put yourself out there and interact.
Well, and to stack on that, Angel, I think some people get bogged down, and I understand about, I got to respond within 30 minutes and respond to every comment, and what time should I post? I don't want to post that early in the morning. This really is, these are tactics and tools, but please do not lose sight of the fact that this is about building relationships. It really is about the one to many. We can go to physical events and network. We can only talk to so many people at once. This platform really allows us to amplify and grow our relationships exponentially. So if you see it from that point of view of you're really getting to know people, getting yourself out there, I think it can become a little less tedious to reply to those comments or utilize some of the tools that we're mentioning here.
I will say too that a little trick, I know it's not looked upon as highly, but if you want your post to be on people's news feeds for longer, you can in fact spread your replies out and not do 30 minutes. Do it over a day or 2 or 3 days or even a week, so that your post is actually going to get seen on more news feeds for a longer period of time. Now, I don't know how the algorithm rewards that, but I do know that more people will see your stuff, because like if I pull back up that viral post and I go to one of the people that liked it and I'm like, hey, thanks for liking this post. I'm glad that it resonated with you. A month later, I hit another 200 impressions. And so that's just kind of an aside out there. And I don't know how it gets rewarded. I don't know how it gets looked at, but you can revive those posts and you can repost, but don't use the same words, but post the post again, because people forget what you post. And it's okay to repost content after a few months.
Yep. And they definitely do. Well, they track time on app in LinkedIn. And so if you spend more time on the app, they actually reward you, because they know that if they don't, you're not going to give anything. Right. So that bumping your old posts by putting a new comment on it, of course, anybody whose comment you're replying to, they should get a notification depending on their notification settings, and that'll remind them to go there. And then of course, from an IT perspective, which is the side that nobody ever talks about when they're talking about the algorithm and all that sort of stuff, it makes sense to benefit people who actually invest in their posts. So they just don't want somebody setting something up in an API and going, boom, here's my post, guys. They want people who will actually be involved and make people feel like they're not wasting their time on the platform. So it's a pretty tough one right there. So we got more questions here. We can answer that in there. I'm loving how the chat is just exploding, because so many people want to know how LinkedIn works. You can dump so much time into it, and it really is something. But this is the REI Rocks Review. We're here every Friday. We start at 11 a.m. Eastern. We're streaming live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, all of this kind of stuff. Let's continue with Amy Sylvis's presentation on LinkedIn. Let's do it. It's on my face.
I feel that.
Well, actually, the salience of the post the comment is important, but I've heard, and it was from an expert, but it's old. So that's why I wanted to check with you. I think it was a couple of years ago, somebody said it has to be at least 2 lines to actually be considered by LinkedIn to be a real comment. And I don't know if that's true anymore, but obviously it's going to take you a couple of lines to say anything salient that anybody would be impressed by. And then it improves your ranking, I think is the term that they use, and pushes you up so more of your followers are seen, because they only have a certain amount of server capability, and that server capability can only serve so many followers. So they have to rank it according to their ability to serve. Unfortunately, Microsoft didn't open up 10 more data farms so that they could just blast out to everybody.
Yeah. It's a really great question. When I'm toggling between what does the algorithm favor and kind of adding value and authenticity, I always lead towards adding value and authenticity. And if that means, I'm really making a thoughtful comment that lasts 2 lines or less than that, if I'm doing it enough, these are all just kind of independent variables that are added together. If I'm doing everything else to kind of get favor with the algorithm, I think we're doing just fine, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So if you're adding value, a multiple line comment is a lot better than thanks for sharing.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Because imagine your ideal customer is looking at that comment. Are they more likely to be, blown away. Hey, what is this guy up to? Or what is this lady, doing, and wanting to go to their profile and learn more by saying, hey, thank you, or by you adding another layer of perspective, of insight, encouragement, something like that. So I always imagine that I'm talking to my target avatar when I comment. Now, do I do it perfectly? Absolutely not. I'm positive you can find comments where you're like, Amy, that's not adding a lot of value, but it is my intention. It is something that I think about. And I do get, I just saw on LinkedIn earlier, I received a direct message and a connection request from someone that's like, hey, you added a comment on someone I'm following. I thought it was interesting. I want to get to know what you're doing more. So those can be really powerful.
Super.
Great questions. Very good questions. All right, we're gonna do one more slide about the algorithm because it's important. Jason was talking a little bit about this, and so was Dan. Pictures of faces. It's powerful. Kathy does this like a master. She's got cute kiddos. She's always smiley. Master. Yeah, it's and I think, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong. I think general people tend to engage with posts more anyway. So it's not just an arbitrary thing that LinkedIn decided. They understand what keeps people on their website longer, right?
Definitely. And I'm confident that they have human mods involved in the mix as well. So like people who actually do curate posts and say, hey, let's give this one some more juice. Let's give that one some more juice. Because like you were mentioning before about like what happens within the first 30 minutes of a post, or, that sort of thing. And I'm totally a believer in that, especially once you get into the bigger numbers, because that's what they'll notice as well. It's in the first, hour. If it blows up there, then they show it to a bigger audience and they say, hey, how's it work there? And so they're always trying to curate the best of the best of the best, unless you just don't follow anybody big.
All right, cool. Very, very good. So yeah, I wouldn't do it all the time. I don't do it all the time, but yeah, throwing in some pictures, especially selfies, can be very helpful with your content. This I see a lot. We will be taking a screenshot before this is over as well. Putting links to outside websites in your post will get you pretty heavily punished. Now, it won't every time. None of these things are absolutes, right? Because again, there are so many things that go into how the algorithm assesses whether or not to really blow up your post or not. But as you can understand, if you're the owner of LinkedIn, you don't want people leaving the website. You want them to stay there. So if there's a post with a link to an outside website, to Zoom, to something else, it's not going to be favored. So post it in the chat, or in the comments. Tell people in your post, hey, go check out the link in the comments. That is definitely a good workaround, and you'll see that more commonly. So Vlad, you look like you're having an aha moment here, friend. Talk to me.
A total aha moment. That
Okay,
makes
good.
complete sense, because I'm seeing this thing on the bottom where it says, check out the links in the comment below. And I'm like, why don't they just put it in the main post?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Good. Yeah, it is annoying. I'm with you. I would way rather have it there. It's annoying. And LinkedIn took away the pinned option in the comments. So as a curator, I used to be able to pin the comments. So the very first thing people saw when they went to the comments was my link. Now you can't pin it. So maybe folks see it. Maybe folks have to search. It's annoying, but our LinkedIn overlords made it that way. So just something to keep in mind. Yeah. All right. I'm going to say something controversial in this last post, but people love to give their opinions, right? So intentionally stir the pot. I definitely don't post political stuff. Some people do. This is not Facebook. I'm not here to try to, do a us versus them type thing. But you've seen, I think many people here in this room post some, Dave Ramsey comments that maybe he's saying something ridiculous, or ask a question about, hey, should you pay off your home early? People love to share information. But what's even cooler about that is a lot of folks will take the time and read comments and learn, right? That's our ultimate goal, is to add value. But if you can add value by creating an extensive dialogue, which sometimes controversial posts do, the algorithm, of course, will reward you, because there is actual conversation going on. Sometimes not just back and forth, but back and forth and back and forth, and other people chiming in. So that can be really helpful. I wouldn't recommend doing it all the time. Again, you want to add value. You don't want people to be like, oh, this Amy lady, she's always saying weird stuff, and people view her as angry or.
And I think the key there is, if you're going to be controversial, you can't be nasty. And I think that reflects super duper badly on you whenever you do it. So some people, they try and do things that they're not supposed to. I'm constantly walking the line, crossing it a bit, but getting away with it on a technicality. I may have mentioned in this chat here in this presentation that one thing that I've always admired about what you do on LinkedIn, Amy, is how your posts become like the office water cooler, where people collect and congregate to have their daily chat on the platform. They'll use your posts for that. And that's I think that's really, really fantastic.
You're kind. Thank you. I appreciate the support. It helps when everyone else is supporting actively and intentionally. So.
Right. And that's the thing. I wanted to mention, based on what Jason was saying as well earlier. He said that, that it's, some posts are better than others. I just really encourage people, don't try and be Walt Whitman, because it's just not going to work. You don't sit there and pine over your post and every single line and go, it's oh, but it's not perfect enough. It's just yeah, sure, put effort into your post and people will really appreciate it, but it's the thought that counts, right? So right on. Let's continue.
Controversial? No, but I think it's okay to push the envelope. So I'm not as cool as Dan with that, but I try really hard to stir the pot a little bit. All right, thoughts before we go on to getting yourself liked? Putting a link in the comment could create another comment to increase ranking. So Kenton, that's a great point. Typically comments on your own posts aren't rewarded very well. In fact, my understanding is if you're the first to comment on your post, that actually isn't that great either. Okay. But is it better to put the link in the post or put the link in the comments? So, it's one of those things. Yeah.
I just thought of somebody now. If somebody were to comment on it and you say, oh yeah, that's a very good point, and I forgot to put in the link. Here's my link. So in other words, you got post, comment, and now your comment again. So it's kind of tricky, but at least it gets you into a different view from LinkedIn standpoint, especially if you say something intelligent as a response.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think that everything has two sides, right? Having someone being frustrated by coming to my post and not seeing the link because I'm waiting for the first person to comment, that might be a little annoying. So link in your DMs. Yeah, Jason, I like the link in your DMs, except then that prevents people from commenting. So I've seen a lot of people say, you may have seen my LinkedIn capital raising secrets promotion on LinkedIn. And instead of saying, if you're interested, DM me, I said, if you're interested, I'm in, because people commenting meant that their network was also going to see what they were commenting on. So, however you want to do it, but there are little things like that. Comment, give me the link. Yeah, exactly. Jason, great point. There are lots of ways to have fun with that. How are we doing on time, Angel? Oh, sorry.
Another question on the algorithm.
Yeah.
How about reactions? Is there any kind of algorithm? Is that considered in the algorithm? You get 1 versus 10 versus 100 reactions.
My understanding is it's helpful, but not as helpful as comments. And I think non-like comments, maybe the smile, the heart, things like that are weighed slightly more, but maybe not. Dan, my expert Dan knows.
Yeah, so it's tough to, without access to LinkedIn's actual data, to even be certain. Like I found that because so many coaches, they come from the marketing side, that like when I'm talking to the programmers, even it's going like, well, like they're not going to reveal the actual parts, but they have to go off of some sort of a quantification, right? So the things that they have at their disposal to know is, if you've ever heard of pausing the scroll, they do have that information to find out if somebody scroll, hang on a second, like maybe scroll a little down, scroll back up a little bit more, then that demonstrates that they're engaged in it. Now, of course, do they want to actually process that on a data? Depends on the platform. LinkedIn, you can be confident that they will. So they are going to be counting in some way by the number of people who reacted. But right now, what I perceive as going on in LinkedIn is they are all guns a-blazing against bots and outsourced. So basically, you have farms of people in Asia who their job is just to click, and engage. They're figuring out ways to, like close the net on that sort of behavior, and it's quite intense to watch it. But especially when you know the technology, like they have these, it's almost like a milling machine or a CNC, and they have a stylus on the end, and they have actual phones, these machines that'll sit there and scroll, tap, 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 click the right parts. So they're even tracking the difference between human motions of sweeping around and robots for it. So if you didn't know that, then I'm just going like, well, okay, so you claim to know the tech, huh? It's intense stuff. It's really crazy what they got going on there, and they can make it work. Like it's originally designed for testing the phones, but people end up adapting it to basically buying likes, selling likes and reactions and stuff.
Wow, wild. All right, so let's get you liked. How do we decide if people are liking you? Are people engaging, and are people direct messaging you? So I think those are really great metrics there. And of course, I'm data driven, as I mentioned. So on the same page where we were looking at impressions, there's a drop-down box here, and you can look at engagement. So again, if you're intentionally, looking to grow, looking to get more investors, make sure you're tracking your data, seeing how you're trending. So in my opinion, getting liked is all about empathy. I know I mentioned that during Vinky's panel, but I don't think we can emphasize this enough. It is truly your ability to put yourself in your target avatar shoes. Now, I struggled myself coming up with my target avatar. Jason and Angel have heard me talk about this because I wanted to raise as much money as possible. Kathy, I think, mentioned this during her presentation too. I wanted to cast my net wide and not eliminate people that might be able to benefit by investing with me. It's hard to come up with an avatar because it needs to not be an age range or a salary range or a industry. It needs to be a person in your mind with a name, with a specific age, a specific salary, specific needs, and pain points, all of those things. It needs to be an actual person that you can think of in your head. It doesn't have to be someone in real life that you know, for example. I mean, that could help. But you really need to have this person in your mind so you can have the empathy. Kathy talked about the mom, right? She does a great job with that. Mom and what she lived through in her own lived experience. That helps empower her to understand and have that empathy for the person she's looking to target. Something I didn't realize as I was struggling through finding a target avatar and not wanting to narrow myself too much, that pushback, is you will attract so many more people than your target avatar. It's this weird abundance mindset kind of concept, if you will, that just because Kathy is speaking about the mom that desperately wants more time with her children, or just because I'm speaking about, I think, Kenton, I think we got to mute my friend. hear a bit of background noise. Thank you. So, and just because I'm talking about a research and development person in the biotech space, that doesn't mean other people won't necessarily resonate. So I just want to encourage you all, if you're anything like me and getting really nervous about narrowing your scope too much as you post, I promise coming up with a specific avatar will actually be the empowering thing that will help you raise capital. So, all right. So how can we get you liked? Find these target people, the people that fit this target avatar to the best of your ability on LinkedIn, and start engaging in their content. There are many ways to do that. We don't have time to go through how to specifically search for people, but you can use a basic search bar. And if people are posting, comment if you're able to add something constructive. So, even words of encouragement. If someone starts a new job, one of my target investors who has actually invested with me published something in the LA Times yesterday. You better believe I made sure that showed up on my LinkedIn, and I commented. Thankfully, my target avatars in the medical space, not doctors or healthcare professionals, but people in the biotech space. I understand that industry, so I'm able to have a conversation around different types of medical things above and beyond real estate, right? So I'm not jumping in and making comments and saying, "Hey, I'm Amy. This is what I do. Are you interested?" I'm having a true, organic, empathetic comment and conversation, and you may not get anything right off the bat, but as you continue to give thoughtful comments, engaging comments, not only will that person wonder, "Who's this Amy lady? Why does she keep showing up, and what is she doing?" But the network might as well. And that goes a little bit more towards your target headline, which unfortunately we don't.
And like the thing that you're getting at here that I think is just absolutely bang on. It's like it dovetails into what that whole idea that this can be a full-time job, this social media part, and it's really easy to feel like you're completely wasting your time. And if somebody actually comes along and engages with what you did, then it doesn't feel like such a waste of time. And so like that's just such a simple, relatable, psychological thing. I think it's really important to emphasize it. But it's now 11:40. We usually wrap it up after 45 minutes because I'm a total tease. I don't know if you guys know that about me, but the main thing is you're going to have to get the subscription if you want the entire presentation and all the other ones. But this is a good time for us to start to do the doggy bag, the takeaways. What is it that you're taking away from this presentation? What do you think people will really gain? Angel, you haven't had like much of any time to talk today. It's been unbelievable. So why don't you take it away? It's weird.
Absolutely. I think some of the most important parts here is just number one, be transparent. I think if you're transparent, the empathy flows pretty naturally because you're just being you. If you're a jerk, people are going to see that. But I think generally when people get transparent, they do have empathy, and they do show empathy, and they show care towards others. They give people grace. And then also when you're engaging with a post, make sure you're truly engaging. Like on that post that I talk about that's viral, it's got like 150 something emotion reactions, people liking or loving or supporting or whatever. And that's great. And I said, I can use those. I can pull from those. But there's some little nuances too. Like you want to comment before you react. And that doesn't just mean like 100% agree, which I'm guilty of doing too. I'll just be like, oh, 100% agree. That's awesome. Absolutely. Definitely. I'll just one word it. But if you want to see yourself popping higher and on more news feeds, you've got to actually like truly interact. Another person other than Amy that's been truly successful with this is my friend Sandia. If you look at anything Sandia Shashadri's been doing, it will just blow your mind. She hit the scene on LinkedIn. Gosh, I don't even know now, maybe 6 months ago, where she was really posting meaningful, well thought out posts. And her following, I think she said yesterday in a post, her following tripled from putting out that kind of content. And Amy, I know you've seen this too with your own content that is truly earth shattering and really amazing with what you're putting out there. So it's a possibility. It's something you can do. And those are some of the takeaways that I have from all of this.
I love it. And that's, I'm going to go to Jason next. What are your takeaways? What's the doggy bag?
Well, you mentioned that you were a tease and that they should get the subscription, which they should. But also, there's even a higher level. You can take the graduate course after you get the subscription that Amy teaches, which is coming up in 2 weeks. So wanted to throw that out there. So
Thanks, Jason.
Exactly. Like, and there's the link on LinkedIn. Jason's already posted it. We got to get you with an SSL certificate, though, Amy, because you need the HTTPS, or else you don't get that little lock in the URL bar, and that makes me sad. I don't.
Well, and I would
don't
even
like
say
being
too,
sad.
like if
It
you've been watching
redirects it,
Jason,
though.
yeah,
It
if you've been
redirects
watching Jason too, Jason started posting more after we were in Amy's course and posting really thought out content and getting some massive numbers and people looking at him. And it was really upsetting for me. I'll tell this one story. He gets an email from this guy who's like, hey, I saw that you've been posting, and most people don't post the kind of stuff you're posting. It's really transparent and well thought out. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I've been posting every day of the week, like Monday through Friday, for 2 years. You've been posting for 2 weeks and someone's looking at your stuff. But it was the way he was posting, the content he was posting, the interactions he was getting into that put him on more screens than what I was on, even though I've been doing it for way longer. So
One thing though on that is when you get a new contact, you're on their feed for like 2 weeks straight on everything you do. And so I think a lot of that had to do with it because I gained a lot of new contacts during that time.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, a whole lot
Yeah.
goes into that, goes into how that works for sure. It's a never ending gaming of the algorithm, but we pushed you out of your comfort zone, Angel, and got you to post some new and different things, right? And that got you some good results. So
Right.
I'm proud of you
Right.
both.
And
we
then,
got
of course,
Jason some amazing results too. I just like to
Yeah.
point out the unhappiness of that one. It's not really unhappiness. I'm actually really, really proud of him.
yeah,
But it
should
did
be.
kind of suck that I posted every day for 2 years and didn't get any kind of emails like that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think there's another part too, which is the horoscope side of things, which is where you make things so vague and you just rely on people's egos that they'll just believe. It's like, oh yeah, thanks for, like, yeah, I thought my posts were really innovative and different too. That's so nice of you to say. So, but who knows? Maybe the person was being genuine. You got some great
It
stuff.
was like
Jason.
a for real person. Like we met him.
Okay, so it wasn't somebody who's mass marketing or
It
anything.
was the Bexus
Excellent.
guy, wasn't it, Jason? Or was it the Time
he's a
Warner?
Spectrum guy.
Yeah, Spectrum.
Oh,
Like a
there
real
you go.
person.
Right on. Well, I don't know. I also think having something else in your back pocket that's not that common makes a huge difference as well. And of course, Jason, I can't let this go without mentioning underwriting, because he is the underwriter extraordinaire, and he's just a fashionista on the side. But here's the code. For anybody who isn't familiar with these QR codes, if you just pull out your phone, you pause this video, perhaps you're watching on a replay, you can scan that code and it goes to that URL down below, theacademypresents.com/underwriting. But there might be more room in your underwriting. So that's some
I have
exciting
that
stuff.
shirt. I love it.
Yeah.
Your shirt is the other shirt, Amy.
Yeah.
Oh,
The underwriter is showing.
Yeah.
Yes,
my
you're right.
underwriter
I need
showing.
to upgrade. I
Right.
need to get
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it has nothing to do with like bending over too far. It's not a plumber butt kind of thing.
Oh my goodness.
So, and what a great way to end off our Friday presentation and let people, crawl up in the fetal position with that little image in their heads there. But do go to capitalraisingsecrets.com to find out more about Amy's upcoming second cohort of LinkedIn mentorship, all that kind of fun stuff that you're doing.
Absolutely.
That's exciting stuff. Amy, did you have anything else to add before we call it a day?
Yeah, I just really appreciate you all having me on, and I appreciate the great questions and comments. You guys do amazing things, and everyone that knows you adores you all, and it's very clear, why that is. So really appreciate you allowing me to come on and add value. And yeah, I just encourage everyone, get that posting muscle going. Even if you're not sure what to post, just give it a try. It's going to lead to great things. Just be consistent.
Mm-hmm. I love it. That's fantastic. It's always great having you around, Amy. And I just have to point out again that she's in California. It's really, really early to get your face on, like all that kind of stuff. It's tough getting up that early for something like this. And it's always a pleasure having you. So, but that's what That's what we have for today. This is the REI Rocks Review. We're here every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern, reviewing these different presentations that'll benefit your real estate or commercial real estate business, including mindset, including all sorts of things that a lot of coaches, they'll gloss over. They won't get into that level of detail. But thanks again. See ya, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Thanks,
Hey,
everyone.
everybody.
Have a good one. Bye.